Welcome, Vault Dwellers. My name is Nacho Bidness. So prior to going to the before shots of the settlement, where nothing's built, we're going to do some announcements. First, this is my first video with mods, but I am not going to try and list all of the ones that I'm using. I've got 40 or so running at this point. Everything seems stable, but I'll probably only touch on some of the more important ones. Second, when it comes to mods, I kind of had a choice to make. I could scrap and completely redo some of the older settlements that I've done, which I was sorely tempted to do, or I could go through and spiff them up a little bit with some additional stuff, same way that I've done with DLCs. I opted for going through and spiffing stuff up just because I have so many ideas that I want to share and just not enough time to go back and completely start over on things that are already essentially done. Third, the last couple settlements were kind of vanilla. There was not a dark Fallout twist to the stories at those places, and that's not the case here. I'm not trying to be coy or anything. I just want to tell you that if you are offended by themes of human trafficking, slavery, abortion, then maybe turn the video off now. So, without further ado, welcome to Coastal Cottage, which I think looks gorgeous with the Spring in the Commonwealth mod, as well as the Greener Wastelands mod. Spring in the Commonwealth adds grass and flowers, Greener Wastelands adds leaves to the trees. So if you look at footage of the area around Chernobyl, for example, or around Hiroshima or Nagasaki in Japan, those areas are not areas where everything is dead and all the plant life is gone. And frankly, if that was the case in the Fallout world after 200 years, if all the plants were dead, everything else would be too. So we've got some other exciting things that we can do with mods. I spent forever glitching stuff into this ruined house just to try and make some kind of use to it. Now there's a mod called Scrap Fallout 4 that will let you go through and scrap almost anything. And for a heavily ruined house like this, where I didn't actually want a heavily ruined house, nowadays I'd be able to just come through and completely demolish it. So when we look at the place, it's a rather small size settlement with kind of one distinguishing feature, and that is this cave down here. Got to thinking about like what kind of horrible things could we do with this cave, and I can scrap the cave. Oh, holy cow! So, wow, I probably would have built this place totally different if I'd had the ability to turn the cave into a hole in the ground or something that was easier to work with. Holy cow! You would not believe how many hours I spent trying to glitch one flippin' doorway in down here. So yeah, I am utterly gobsmacked. Why don't we go ahead and skip to the part where I show you what the place looks like when it's done and tell you about the in-game part of the story. So I seriously almost didn't make this video because although the title says that this is a brothel somewhat implies that the women are employees and there by choice. Make no mistake, this is a whorehouse. There's some defenses here that can be triggered by the guards up there if you don't know the password to get in. These women are not here by choice. They are slaves. And they are dressed in various costumes to try and appeal to different customers' tastes. For example, she might be doing some light bondage, whereas this woman is some kind of baseball fantasy, I guess. So they've all kind of got their own little theme and their own little shtick, but they are prisoners. Just go check an inventory real quick. They have, oops, didn't mean to do that. They have no weapons. They're not allowed. You might notice that some of these women are maybe a little bit more well endowed than usual. That's because I have installed a busty mod for this particular video. I'll probably get rid of it later. I think that quote-unquote sexy settlers or NPCs is silly. It's the apocalypse. People are not going to look their best. So this woman in particular is one of the two actual employees of the place. They are guards that are employed by the mob boss that controls this place. I'm working on a crime lord settlement with some ideas that I'm fleshing out, and this is going to be a subsidiary of that. This is a place where high roller customers or favored subordinates can go to spend some time. So I mentioned that these women are prisoners. You can see that the guard station doesn't face only out, it faces in too. This particular switch turns on the flame traps down there to incinerate anyone who doesn't know the passwords or wasn't sent or authorized by the crime lord. So I went ahead and just isolated this garage structure and put some generators inside of it. It's completely blocked off because we don't want the settlers to have access to tools or anything that they could use to maybe fabricate a weapon. We'll take a quick run around part of the wall here it's a prison, and most of the wall looks the same. There are a few places to sleep that are built into the wall, but as you can see, they are just packed in like sardines, and they have literally nothing. They have the clothes on their back and a cot, and that's it. So there we go. That's what the place looks like during the daytime, and I'll see you in a minute where we'll take a look at what the inside of the house looks like after dark. So this is the settlement at night. Not a lot of lights or anything shining out from the walls. This is not a public place. You are here through invitation only. So there's no need to advertise. There's not a lot of lights in the prison yard either. Just some harsh spotlights. So let's take a look at what the house looks like from the outside. Almost looks inviting. Now the slaves here don't have names. Their name is whatever the client says it is. Instead they have numbers, and when a client dismisses one, he will have her go stand on a pressure plate that right now just has a box of Braxo on it, but he has to go stand on a pressure plate to summon the next one before his first one is dismissed. Now they're actually eager for that because these are broken women that have been abused and are largely controlled through their drug addictions. There are some traps and some speakers here in case whoever happens to be in the hole gets out. There's also some new posters, which is something to be cheerful about. The second floor here is not really well lit. I wanted to have it feel a little bit like a lounge. There's a place where the client can be served a meal and he can have conversation and try and pretend to himself that these women actually enjoy his company. The refrigerator is another object from a mod that I downloaded. And there's the pressure plate that I was talking about. On the third floor, got a fireplace to try and set some kind of romantic mood, because there is a bed here. I don't think that we need to explain what happens there, along with some handcuffs, which, depending on the client, it depends on whether he wears them or she wears them. I mentioned that women are actually excited to come up here, oddly enough, and part of that is because, ta-da, we've got a clean toilet mod. So my unhealthy obsession with toilets in settlements continues. So over here, a couple more posters on the wall. There's a mod called Gruffed Signs, which has tons of great stuff in it. There's a seat here where the client can grab a camera and take pictures if he's so inclined. He can watch a shower show, or he can watch them dance on the stripper pole. There's no way to throw down caps, so I threw down a bunch of pre-war money here. When the client is done and he is tired and wants to get some fresh air, he can come out on this patio, which is just a little bit hard to get onto. Sit and have a drink and take in the ocean breeze and pretend that he's not a scumbag. So when a young woman is brought here, the first place that she goes in the hole. She's normally left here in the dark by herself, but every once in a while light turns on and the pain begins. When she's in here, she's forced to drink or to eat out of a dog bowl and use the bathroom in a bucket. She's left with a few supplies because sometimes she'll be in isolation for days, but she's only left with some disgusting silt beans, some raw bloatfly meat, drugged water, and Med-X and Jet, because one of the goals is to get her addicted to drugs so that she can be controlled. The strongest-willed women are killed, and the weakest-willed women go and become part of the brothel or the whorehouse without too much torture. The ones in the middle that refuse to break are the ones that have the roughest time, because they're shoved into this surgery chair, which is another mod that you can download and place in settlements. And it's fully functional, but for the purposes of my roleplay here, it's just another little bit of added horror, because there are all kinds of things out here to do terrible stuff to the human body. There's a saw and a scalpel and gasoline and a bone saw and duct tape and handcuffs and rat poison and a bone cutter and acid. And for the women that don't break right away, the sadistic owners will end up... Oh, why were you not here earlier? The sadistic owners will end up scarring their face, and you can see here there's some of these women that have been so brutally abused that their faces are no longer pleasing to the eye, and they're left to wear sacks over their heads. So probably the worst part about the whole place, as if the rest wasn't bad enough, is that we're running a whorehouse in a wasteland without birth control. And the final object on this table here, after the dish rag to muffle the screams, is the clothes hanger. There was one slave who, with the help of the other slaves, was able to conceal a pregnancy until she was almost full term. When the owners found out, they were enraged, and her skull and the one teddy bear that she had managed to scavenge for her soon-to-be-born child are just abandoned behind the garage. So this one was pretty intense, and I hope that you found it maybe shocking or maybe thought-provoking about how there are stories that even a relatively dark game like Fallout won't tell. Regardless, if you liked the video, even though it was rough to make and probably rough to watch, hit the like button. If you want to see more, I promise that, well, I won't promise. Probably nothing else that I make will ever be dark as this. But if you do want to see more, hit subscribe. If you didn't like, please tell me why, and I'll try and do better next time. This is Nacho Bidness saying, I need a hug.